Hey there, baking besties. Today I'm going to show you a super easy way to elevate your breakfasts and desserts to the next level in just 5 minutes. In this video, I'm sharing how to make 5 incredible sweet compound butter recipes that will completely transform your toast, pancakes, waffles, scones, and any baked goods. From rich butter pecan butter to fresh fruity flavors, these 5 sweet compound butters are creamy, dreamy, and so easy to make. So let's get started. But first, before we dive in, here's a little secret to the perfect compound butter. Always use softened butter at room temperature so that way it's really easy to mix in all of your fillings into the butter. And for a really smooth texture and rich flavor, splurge on a high-fat European butter. My favorite is Kerrygold. And as for equipment, to get that extra smooth texture, you can either whip it up in your stand mixer with a paddle attachment, or you can just use a handy hand mixer. First up, whipped honey strawberry butter. You're going to need half a cup of unsalted butter softened to room temperature, a 1/4 cup of strawberry jam, and a 1/4 cup of honey. Now, I tried this recipe with fresh strawberries cut up and it did not work at all. I think the strawberries had way too much liquid, so it made the butter split and it was just gross. So anyways, in a mixing bowl, beat 1 stick of softened butter until it's really fluffy and creamy after a few minutes. Once that butter is nice and fluffy, then you can add your 1/4 cup of strawberry jam and give that another mix. Now, if you want a really light flavored strawberry butter, you can just leave it right here. 2 ingredients, that's all you need. But if you want it a little bit sweeter, add a tablespoon or 2 of honey and then mix it again. To store your whipped honey strawberry butter, just place it in a jar or an airtight container and store it in the fridge. For a really spreadable consistency, leave it out at room temperature for about 15 minutes and then it'll be perfectly creamy, naturally sweetened to spread onto toast, pancakes, scones, muffins, you name it. Next up, let's make blueberry butter. You'll need half a cup of unsalted butter softened to room temperature, a 1/4 cup of blueberry jam, and the zest of 1 large lemon. In your mixing bowl, add your half cup of softened butter, and we're gonna mix that until it's super fluffy and creamy after a couple minutes. Then, once it's nice and fluffy, you can add our blueberry jam and our lemon zest. You can zest your lemon directly into the bowl. Just make sure you only get the outer yellow part and not the white part of the peel, which is called the pith, because that can add a bitter taste to your butter. Then give that another good mix until you have this really gorgeous, bright purple, whipped lemon blueberry butter. To store, spread your butter in an airtight container so it's ready to spread on French toast, waffles, and best of all, cornbread. Third up, we have our whipped honey raspberry butter. As per usual, you're going to need half a cup of unsalted butter softened to room temperature, a 1/4 cup of raspberry jam, and then that optional tablespoon of honey to sweeten it even further like we did for the strawberry butter. For the whipped raspberry butter, you're going to add your softened half cup of butter to your mixing bowl and then beat that with an electric hand mixer or in a stand mixer for a couple minutes until it's really fluffy and light. Then add your raspberry jam and optional honey to sweeten it further and mix that again until everything is well combined and it'll turn this beautiful pink color. To store, you can spread it into an airtight container or a jar and leave it in the fridge. I personally love this just on regular toast, maybe on a scone, or for an extra bougie breakfast moment, you can spread your whipped honey raspberry butter on a scone. Now let's make our cherry butter. So for this one, as always, you're going to start with your half a cup of unsalted butter softened to room temperature, a 1/4 cup of cherry jam, an optional little bit of almond extract because almond actually brings out the natural flavor in cherries, so they go really well together. But if you don't have almond extract, feel free to leave that out. You could also add a little lemon zest like we did for our blueberry butter, again to amp up that natural cherry flavor. So to your mixing bowl, first add your half a cup of softened unsalted butter. Then give your butter a good mix with your hand mixer until it's really pale yellow and really fluffy. Then once it's nice and fluffy, you can add your 1/4 cup of cherry jam. And optional little trick to amp up that cherry flavor is to add about half a teaspoon of almond extract. Then we'll give that another mix. Your whipped cherry jam will become this beautiful burgundy color, and I personally love this one spread on pancakes, toast, or anything chocolate, like chocolate cake, a chocolate muffin, for kind of those like Black Forest vibes. And just like our other butters, you can spread this one into an airtight container and store it in the fridge. Last up, we'll take a little detour from our fruity flavors and make this wonderfully cozy, nutty butter pecan butter. So for this, you're going to need a 1/4 cup of chopped pecans, a little bit of honey, half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and your half a stick of unsalted softened butter. First, to get the most nutty flavor out of the pecans, we're going to toast them in the oven. So spread them out on your baking sheet, and we're going to toast this at 300 degrees Fahrenheit just until they start to turn golden and smell really nutty, about 10 to 15 minutes. And while the pecans are toasting in the oven, you can whip up your softened stick of butter. Alright, our pecans have finished toasting and they smell amazing. Super buttery, super nutty. So we can go ahead and add our toasted nuts right into our softened butter, along with half a teaspoon of cinnamon and 2 tablespoons of honey. And then we'll go ahead and give all that another mix. I am obsessed with this butter pecan butter. It's nutty, sweet, a little bit spiced from the cinnamon, and obviously buttery. I personally love it most for breakfast, spread on waffles or pancakes. It just adds this like amazing, nutty, spiced touch. You could also put it on biscuits, cornbread, or even mix it into your oatmeal. And to save it for later, just store it in an airtight container in the fridge. And there you have it, 5 incredibly creamy, sweet compound butter recipes. Which one are you trying first? Let me know in the comments. I love these spread on a hearty, nourishing bread like my rye bread or sourdough bread. I've put a couple of my favorite homemade bread recipes down in the description box below to pair with your fresh compound butters. And if you love easy, delicious baking tips and recipes, don't forget to like and subscribe and join our bake club here on YouTube. See you next time.